You know what's interesting is I think like my generation has been labeled as like the social media generation, the technologically advanced generation. But one thing that I've really noticed with my peers and my age group is we value interactions like this, like the face-to-face time, the in-person quality time. Like, yes, we can FaceTime our friends and be on our phones texting or messaging through social media all day long, probably, but nothing replaces this, like being physically present with people. And I see that often with a lot of my peers, how there's something so special and so integral to our existence as humans, and even within a church context, within our existence as a church body, when we're able to be physically present. So something that I've heard the older generation say is that like the millennials and Gen Z, like we are, digital natives, we like to be on our phones, but one thing that I would like your generation and other older generations to know is that we need this face-to-face interaction too.
In that sense, you're not much different than my generation, because we flourish in relationships.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that we both have a longing for relationships, but we are not talking to each other.
There's something interesting. I was reading a book maybe 5 years ago. It was written actually by a U.S. senator, and he was talking about how there's been changes within generations within the U.S. and how we are no longer doing this. We are no longer having intergenerational conversations. And one of the reasons the author gave was kind of interesting. It was due to child labor laws being put in place, essentially saying that back in the day, children were working alongside of adults, could be around that environment, that work ethic. And once child labor laws were put in place, there was like this segregation. I don't think it was just that. But what I have seen is that within school settings, whether it's academy or public school, within even church settings, we often have like these silos of age groups, right? And so I think back to my academy days, the hours that I spent in school, not just the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., but it was the extracurricular activities after that, adding all those hours together. I went to academy first grade through 12th grade. My classmates that I had for first grade through 12th grade, honestly, like I spent more time with them than a lot of us spent with our parents during the school year. Just naturally the amount of time that we spent like at school and doing school related activities, extracurricular activities. So I do see like within education system, even within church, like how we have, different Sabbath schools by age group, we have that division based on age. And yes, like of course there are certain teaching styles, there are certain topics that maybe it is wiser to have groups, separated. But I don't see why, you and I can't worship together. You and I can't open the Bible together. You and I can't pray together. And in my life, recently even, some of the most meaningful, impactful moments of worship have been where I've been in spaces where there's a 5-year-old worshiping alongside of a 90-year-old and everyone in between. And yeah, I would absolutely love more environments like that.
So I would agree with you with the term you use about being siloed, because we are at church. I belong to a Sabbath school class that when they started, they used to be called the 30-somethings, and now they're like the 60 or 70-somethings, and they've been together all that time. So several years ago, there was a task force formed here at the church to talk about intergenerational ministry. And we did some experiments. For example, one time an early teen class went in and met with a class of 70-year-olds and studied their Sabbath school lesson together. And everybody loved it. The kids loved it, the adults loved it, but it was only done once. And what happened to that group is that the leader left and the things started to fall apart and conversation stopped. But I would love to see that conversation begin again. I think it'd be great for the young adults to come in and meet with us 70-somethings in a class sometime and just share the Sabbath school lesson together. Or even going back to as young as early teens, somebody has to break down the silos or else they will exist forever. Mm-hmm. So the task force is broken up. Somebody has to rekindle it. And who knows, maybe it can start right here. Because I want to hear about your generation. I learned a great deal from my teenagers, my children when they were teenagers, because they challenged me on so many things about faith. including and especially the idea of Christian standards or Adventist standards, were things like going to the movies as evil as my generation portrayed them. And I learned from that conversation. I was happy that they felt close enough to me and my wife to talk about those things openly. But more of those conversations need to begin. Azure Hills Church is a very safe place for that to happen, because we don't have any left wing and right wing people attacking each other. I think we all listen to each other well. Church board meetings are non-combative. We do have intergenerational game nights, and people come and enjoy each other. You will learn as you develop as a leader that it's usually one or two people that have the vision and the courage to try to carry out the vision, and that's how things get done and changed. But unless the people who have the vision have the courage to step out and say, we need to do this, we need to find cohorts, we need to find people that will join us in this, then the vision dies. Without vision, the church dies. I've seen that over and over again. And when I was a conference president, I had 90 churches to look after. Some of them just withered on the vine because of the strident attacks on each other. I have the truth. No, I have the truth. And the battle went on until the church finally withered and died. But that's not the case here at Azure Hills. We have a very emotionally healthy church where I think experiments can be done and done successfully.
Yeah. What I've noticed about this church is there's a lot of solid parents involvement, right? And so like that automatically like helps bridge that gap. I've just within my position alone here at the church have had a lot of interactions with like parents in their late 30s, early 40s, even into their 50s, and just inviting them into these spaces of like, hey, what would it look like if you came over and like worshiped with like a group of young adults or a group of youth, and then those parents would bring along their students as well. So yeah, it really does take. I have seen and I've talked to enough people within this church to see that we have this vision for what intergenerational worship could look like, and yeah, it's just that stepping out and doing it.
So I'm kind of curious, because you talked about working with parents who are a big help to you, and some of the older generation. What have you learned from that experience? Or what models have you seen as you identify maybe someone as a mentor? What characteristics do you especially value?
Within parents or
any older person, even me?
Well, I'll say this, like within my adult life, I've been a part of a lot of different projects. And when you're part of a lot of different projects, like I think our mindset immediately goes to like, okay, how can we get this done? Like what are the steps we need to do to get this done, and let's execute. If that involves teamwork, great. If that involves some new level or new style of communication, great. But one of the things that I've really been starting to practice a lot more is the simple spiritual practice of prayer and just pausing and spending time in prayer. So that's something that I've started noticing more in other people, just because I've started to take the time within myself and my alone time with God to like pause and pray, especially when things are difficult, when I don't understand what the next step is. I'm reminded like, hey, be still and wait for the Lord to act. Be still and know that I am God. Like those verses are reminders for me. And it's always nice to encounter people, especially leaders who are so open about their prayer life, so vulnerable about some of the struggles that they go through, but also with the understanding that I couldn't have gotten through this difficult season or this scenario without like yielding to God and yielding to the power of the Holy Spirit. And I think that's so important for someone like me to hear, who, like I'm involved in ministry. It's important for someone like me to hear who's, thinking of one day having a family. It's so important to know that there are people who've gone before me who are like, I couldn't do this on my own. Like I can't do this on my own. Like I needed help from God. And I think also prayer in of itself is, yes, it's absolutely like communication with God and how we, partner with God and building his kingdom here on this earth. But I've also seen prayer as an act of surrender, a simple way of saying, like, I really literally can't do any of this on my own. So I'm just going to thank you, Lord, that you even woke me up this morning. Thank you, Lord, that you gave me breath in my lungs. And like those simple steps of gratitude help, I think, shape the rest of the day. So when it comes to bigger decisions, like my children are acting in a way that I never expected them to act, or our ministry is hitting this wall, whether it's financially, whether it's communication-wise, or partnership-wise, there are all these things that I have zero capacity to like overcome or understand. It's like, oh no, I was thanking God in the little things and being grateful for his provision in the little things. So now when it comes to the bigger things, I already know where my help comes from. It doesn't come from myself. It comes from him. So seeing that posture and that heart desire in leaders and parents, it's so important for me.
That's interesting because I have viewed you in the little time that I've known you as kind of a take charge guy. You've been a business major, a management major. Hey, I can solve this problem.
Yeah.
And understanding that sometimes you need to slow down, reflect, and maybe don't know all the answers despite all your training. And if you watch the pastors here, you'll see a lot of good modeling about the importance of prayer. That's one thing I've appreciated about them.
And I really like that because one of the first conversations that I had with Pastor Tara when I got onboarded as the interim youth coordinator, like I was asking, I think it was her and Pastor Steve, like, what is the church's vision for the youth? And their first answer was prayer, and she was talking to me about the importance of us as the older generations to be interceding for the younger generations. And I understand, like, I'm younger than you are, but like I put us in that same category of like we are the older generations praying for the youth of this church, for the junior high students, for the high school students, and if not us, then who? And I think this is where they come to learn about God, but to also find community, a community of faith, to know like, hey, is what we're reading out of the Bible, when the Bible talks about like the church as a body, or the church as a group that edifies and builds up each other, like, am I actually finding that in the spaces where I show up on the weekends? And, yes, it's so important for us to, say hi and to interact with each other face to face, but I think it's just as, if not more important, to be in our rooms with the Lord and interceding for the youth, the young adults in our church as well. It's super important.
I'd like to go back to the conversation you started about the importance of relationships, and that is the key to a healthy church. I thought earlier about having 90 churches to look after and maybe 60 pastors I worked with during that time. People praise their pastors. When lay people praise their pastors, it was almost always on the basis of relationship that they have built with the pastor. Very seldom was it, my pastor had a great sermon. It was more like when I needed the pastor, he was there. He came to visit. He came to pray. He always looked me up in the church lobby to be sure I was doing all right. In any relationships, usually somebody takes the incentive, like in this case the pastors, to be sure that they knew what the members were doing. One of my favorite little songs I find myself humming every so often is just an old chorus or song. It says this: brighten the corner where you are. That I decided in my life was my territory. No matter what role I had, my goal was to just recognize that here's my corner, here's the people I'm relating to today. My role is to brighten that corner, whether it's 2 people or 5 people or 10 people. If you would join me in that, I have my 5, you have your 5, and the other member has their 5, and out of every Sabbath we would come and look for 4 or 5 people even that we could go up and talk to, and that's how relationships would be built that would make Azure Hills Church worth coming to. Because I know when I go there, I'm going to find someone that's interested in me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. When I talk to younger people who are thinking about like where they're going to be in their career, like a lot of times it's like work focused. Like, what am I going to do to fulfill like whatever God has given me, right? And so it's always like, what can I produce, or how can I use my skills to, do stuff, right? But oftentimes what I'll share and what I've seen in my life is that God will use those spaces simply to put you face to face with people, right? And so even, You know, whether you work in a grocery store, whether you're a lawyer, the light that God has given you, like he has opened doors for you to be in certain spaces, not just for the labor that you do, which is important, but also, and more importantly, for the people that you're going to interact with. I really like what you said. If we look like right in front of us, the people right in front of us, and we actually like take that time to say hi. Like a hi goes a long way. Hello, good morning, happy Sabbath, how are you? And actually like genuinely meaning the how are you, right? That goes a long way. Because oftentimes within this culture, a how are you is just like a simple hello, right? And we'll just, walk by people without understanding like, oh, some people actually, want to open up.
So, how are you, Jordan?
Well, today I'm very happy, actually. Today was a fulfilling day. I mean, I just got done attending a youth pastors and leaders conference put on by the conference. And got to see a lot of faces that I've been familiar with since I was a kid. They asked me to help lead worship, so that was really nice, just to lead worship. I always love hearing other people sing and worship the Lord with me. But I think one of the special parts of today was I was in a room with almost every single pastor who's been like so integral in my growing up since when I was a kid all the way up till now. Like Pastor Carmen was there, who's a children's ministry pastor here. Like she was the one who baptized me, gave me Bible studies. There were pastors there who would do ministry with the students at Redlands Academy. And when I was a student there, even like chaplains from my time at La Sierra, peers of mine from when I was at La Sierra University as well. And so just to see a room of like so many people from different stages of my life, still in ministry, still going strong in ministry with that heart and that endurance to continue going, that was very, very special to be a part of. Yeah.
It sounds like a great day, and it was probably also great for your mentors to see you now as a youth leader.
Yeah, that one of the chaplains at La Sierra, he was a former chaplain, Pastor Sam. He was the head chaplain while I was a student there.
I know him well.
Okay, like he would always come up to me, and he would tell me like, hey Jordan, like when are you gonna be a pastor? Hey Jordan, like you should consider it, right? And so when he saw me in the room with a bunch of other pastors in the conference, like I saw this big smile come across his face, and he was like, seeing you just made my day, So yeah, it is, little things like that. So yeah, I'll reciprocate the question, how are you, like, really?
The good news about my day is that I had a session with my physical therapist to get movement in this hand.
Nice.
And it may sound like a little thing to you, but try to live your life just using your left hand if you're right-handed for 2 months. I feel like I've been liberated, I've been freed, because I can now use this hand to do some things. And then it's a good day because I was looking forward to coming and talking to you. I was really looking forward to this because I had a chance to know you earlier. Even though we only met each other Sabbath, my family's had an influence on you in the past because my daughter taught a class with you in it at La Sierra.
Yeah, Dr. Motschiedler.
So you've known Motschiedler for a long time.
I have, yeah. It was the scientific process, part of the honors program at La Sierra University. I remember well.
And so because that made me even more interested in getting a chance to get acquainted with you.
Yeah. And how's the hand overall? Is there pain?
There's some pain, but it's much better than it was. This thumb was so bad, it was just bone rubbing against bone, excruciating pain. But now I just need to get the joint to work again. It had not been used in 2 months, so it's really, really stiff. So it's been a good day. Jordan and I would look forward to having a chance to talk to you, and my hopeful expectations have been more than met.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, and of course, when I see you around church, I'll be sure to go out of my way and say hi.
Absolutely, and I'll include you in my corner also. So.
Yeah, absolutely.